her that much in the way of competition. I know they might be doing something with Maria and Gail Kim, but not quite sure what's going to happen. So they go into a tag team match, Jesse Goddard and Eli Drake versus Mahabali Shera and Odarg the Great, which was basically another issue I have with TNA. They do the Feast or Fire deal, and now they're doing basically the same thing that they would do with either, Hulk Hogan, who turns out to be Mr. America, or Daniels, who turned out to be Curryman or Suicide or whoever he was. But it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, so you give them the Feast or Fired case, and they get the fired case, and it's like, okay, I'm fired. Only 2 people out of that entire deal have actually been legitly fired and have not come back from TNA, and that was it was Sheikh Abdul Bashir, also known as Davari, and Chavo Guerrero, where they were both legitimately fired and they were gone. Other than that, everybody else that's gotten the pink slip has come back after a fair amount of time. Well, I don't know if I would say fair amount, but they've come back eventually. So, Mahabali Bashir and Odarg the Great come out with the victory, and Odarg is going to challenge Eli Drake in a matchup next week. I guess it's to a Lethal Lockdown match. I guess it's a second Lethal Lockdown match. I don't know what they're going to do. I just don't know. The main event, Matt Hardy and Tyrus said to EC3, hey, you go out, you go find yourself a tag team partner, and let's have a tag team match at the main event tonight. Now, of course, Mr. EC3 was probably too proud, and he said, you know what? I don't want anybody getting involved. I want to be the one who comes out and, it's one of those things where it's like, hey, I just want to face you guys on my own. I don't need anybody's help. Well, that wasn't until you heard Rockstar Spud's theme music hits. So, so Rockstar Spud comes out, and they have a very interesting tag team matchup, and the matchup ended with EC3 getting the 1%er on Matt Hardy, getting a pinfall victory on EC3. Definitely a very interesting matchup. So EC3 is going in with quite a bit of momentum, and it's going to be interesting to see how Lockdown turns out. So let's go through the card. I think I need to see if I can... Aha, here we go. All right, so the card next week for Lockdown. You have Beer Money versus Young and Bram. I will actually make my predictions on this. I will be picking Beer Money to take out Young and Bram, and I think it's only going to be a matter of time before they have Beer Money become the tag team champions again. Actually, spoiler alerts, they do become the tag team champions again because of their Feast or Fired briefcase. So, for those of you that don't care much for TNA, well, there you go. Lethal Lockdown, Beautiful People and Gail Kim versus the Dollhouse. First time ever, and I gotta go with Beautiful People and Gail Kim. I just think that, Dollhouse is good, but Beautiful People and Gail Kim really know how to, they know how to take, pick up business. Eli Drake versus Ordag the Great, and it's not a Lethal Lockdown matchup, it's just going to be a regular 6 sides of steel match. I am thinking that it's one of those matches that I really do not want to see. So, just because I am not actually a fan of Grado, I'm going to go with Eli Drake. I think that he needs more of the momentum right now than anything. Trevor Lee defends the X Division Championship against Tigre Uno in 6 sides of steel. This is a matchup that we've seen before, but I think it's going to be a little interesting to see, considering that the last matchup that they had, Gregory Shane Helms, he interfered in the match and cost Tigre Uno the matchup. So I'm going to have to say that It's going to go to Trevor Lee. I think he's going to retain. Excuse me. And it's going to be one of those matches that's going to be kind of a sleeper match, but I think it might still be a little interesting matchup to say the least. And then the main event, it's going to be Matt Hardy versus EC3, Six Sides of Steel for the TNA Heavyweight Championship. I'm pulling for EC3 on this one. I just think that he is going to still be one of those guys that is going to carry the company into the next generation. EC3 is a great worker. He's great on the mic. Matt Hardy, I think his time is just really past. So predicting that EC3 will be the next world champion, come a 3-time champion. And that is going to wrap it up for the Impact deal. So, going to take a short break. When I come back, going to talk about NXT, going to talk about FastLane, and going to talk about the top rivalries from 2009 to 2011. But before I do, little cheap plug. You want to go find some belts, wrestling belts, for a good price, go to ajsbelts.com, the official sponsor of Pro Talk Wrestling. And guys, they have a great relay program in which you can actually put money away towards a championship belt of your choosing. This goes up to 6 months, in no interest, no catches, nothing. And guys, if you have PayPal, you can use PayPal credit to get your belt right now and worry about the payments later. So check it out, guys. ajsbelts.com, the official sponsor of Pro Talk Wrestling. Gentlemen, this is Nate the Great. This is Pro Talk Wrestling here on Spreaker.com, also on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me here today on this Friday, chilly day. Be sure to check me out on Twitter at Nate the Great TSC. That is right. On March 27th will be the last show of Pro Talk Wrestling, and already, guys, next month is going to be insane because we've already got so many guests that are already going to be scheduled for the show. Looking forward to seeing these guests, talking with them, and I'm hoping to get one major interview going in, whether it be a wrestler, manager, whatever it may be. So, going to talk about NXT, and going to talk a little bit about a lot of things that happened, including a very interesting and controversial finish that happened in the main event, which features Samoa Joe versus Sami Zayn. So we kicked off the NXT show with a 8-man tag team match in which we saw Enzo and Cass taking on the team of American Alpha, Jason Jordan, Chad Gable, and they teamed up to take on Blake and Murphy, as well as Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder. And I said this on Wednesday, and I still say it again, that I think Scott and Dash are just two guys that are very good, and they are going to be a force to be reckoned with, especially if they come up to the main roster. They're going to be a very big-time major heel tag team, I guarantee it. So this matchup was very, very good, and it was one of those matches that was enjoyable, and it really showcased 4 great teams. And we saw American Alpha and Enzo and Cass defeating the team of Blake and Murphy and Scott and Dash in a very good matchup to kick off the NXT show. We saw Asuka in action in a very dominant fashion, in which she knocked out her opponent again. But I guess that's really not too much to say. So we saw that matchup, and then we were followed up with, I believe, was a promo by Nia Jax and Eva Marie. Oh, jeez, that just gave me a little bit of a kink in my neck where I'm just like, I do not like that name. And I'll talk more about why I'm not a big fan of Eva Marie in a later episode, just because right now I want to more focus on the main event matchup, which saw, well, actually, no, there was one other matchup. It was Ty Dillinger and Alex Riley. This matchup was a very slow, very somber matchup, but what basically ended up happening was that Ty Dillinger picked up the victory on Alex Riley with a roll-up, and I actually called it the perfect 10 victory roll, and Ty Dillinger picked up a victory on NXT, something very rare that you see nowadays, but yeah, I'm happy for the guy. So we go into the main event, which was basically, they started doing the introductions and the music at around 8:35 Central Time. No, it wasn't 8:35. It was 7:35. There we go. And I thought to myself, wow, if they're giving him that much time, it's going to be probably a really good matchup. And it definitely was. It was a combination of three different promotions, TNA, ROH, and CZW. And this matchup definitely did not disappoint. The matchup was just amazing. It featured everything that you can imagine. It featured technical style. It featured fast-paced style. It featured high-flying style by Sami Zayn. And in the end, we saw Sami Zayn hit a haluva kick on Samoa Joe and fall back on Samoa Joe for the 1-2-3. The thing was, though, that Samoa Joe and Sami Zayn's shoulders were both down for the 3 count. So Sami Zayn thought that he won. And honestly, I thought that Samoa Joe's shoulder was actually up a little bit, and I'm thinking to myself, oh gosh, Samoa Joe's going to be the champion. He's going to be the number 1 contender. But the referee put Samoa Joe's hand down as well. William Regal came out. He says, "Hey, you're the referee. What's going on? I thought that we were going to have a decisive winner." And the guy said, "Well, both of their shoulders were down, so unfortunately, I can't name a victor. It ends in a draw." So very controversial, but also a very, very good matchup. I'm looking forward to seeing how they top this matchup, because this could have been an NXT TakeOver match, honestly, hands down. But going from there to the predictions for FastLane. So, I actually have the FastLane predictions from my friends at the Squared Circle podcast, and they are without a champion because Zachary Hagenbuscher, he lost his smile apparently. So he had to vacate the title, which I know it's you're saying, why do you care? It's one of those things where it's just like, it kind of makes me feel a little giddy. It's like, okay, so he lost the belt because he lost his smile. So very interested and very, I don't know if I would say grateful, but I would say one of those things where it's like, okay, it's one of those things where, I won't have to hear him bragging about, he's the champion. Well, he's already got the bragging deal about him in Trivia Mania, so fortunately, he still got that bragging right. But let's get right into the predictions. So I'm going to give you guys their predictions, and then I'm going to give you guys my predictions. So let's get right into it. The pre-show matchup, the kickoff show, whatever you want to call it, is going to feature Kalisto versus Alberto Del Rio for the United States Championship in a 2 out of 3 falls matchup. Both Max and Spencer have picked Kalisto for that matchup. And in that matchup, I believe that Kalisto is going to get the victory, but I am praying that they have Kalisto beat Del Rio 2 consecutive falls in a row. I'm not saying at the end, I'm saying, first fall, second fall, both go to Kalisto. I think that that's just right now the best thing for them. I just do not see Del Rio, of course, being the, champion again. God, no. So AJ Styles taking on